Good morning, Africa, and welcome to Africa Good Morning. In this program, we'll be bringing you the latest news from across the continent and beyond. My name is Glenora Shipura, and this is Diana Master.
Welcome to our show. Glenn, today has to be one of your favorite days because it is Library Workers' Day. You told me in your past life you were a library worker.
Yes, I think if things would have gone differently, I would have still been a librarian.
So librarians can be a vital help for all the visitors to the library who need to do research or check out books. And for those who enjoy education and learning new things, then a librarian can be a very best friend. Happy Library Workers' Day to all the library workers out there. Let's take a look.
Welcome back. Let's get into our news stories. Now, first, ICC trial addressing Darfur war crimes to open. Now, the first trial addressing atrocities in Darfur opens at the International Criminal Court on Tuesday, nearly 20 years after the Sudanese region was wrecked by widespread violence that left hundreds of thousands dead. Now, suspected former Janjaweed militia leader Ali Muhammad Ali Abd al-Rahman faces 31 counts of war crimes and crimes against humanity, including persecution, murder, rape, and torture. Now, prosecutor accused the septuagenarian Abd al-Rahman of being a senior commander of thousands of pro-government Janjaweed fighters during the 2003 to 2004 height of the Darfur conflict. Now, Abd al-Rahman denies the charges. During earlier court appearances, he and his lawyer argued that he was a victim of mistaken identity and that he was not educated enough to understand the orders he carried out could result in war crimes. Now, the alleged Janjaweed leader voluntarily surrendered to the Hague-based court in June 2020 after 13 years on the run. The trial comes amid an upsurge in what humanitarian groups say is international communal violence in Darfur since the end of United Nations and the African Union mission there. Now, Darfur's conflict first erupted when mostly non-Arab rebels took up arms against Sudan's government, which responded with a counterinsurgency.
Moving over to Nigeria, more than 150 still missing after passenger train attack. 1 week after gunmen attacked a train with explosives in northwestern Nigeria, the whereabouts of 168 passengers are still unknown, the Nigerian Railway Corporation says. At least 8 people were killed and many others missing on March 28 when gunmen detonated a bomb on the tracks and opened fire on the train linking the capital Abuja with the northwestern city of Kaduna. In a statement late Sunday, the NRC said of the 362 passengers on board the train when it was attacked, 186 had been confirmed safe. The NRC said of the remaining 176 passengers, 8 have been confirmed dead, leaving the whereabouts of 168 still unknown. It said efforts were underway to rescue the missing passengers. The March 28 attack was the latest deadly assault blamed on heavily armed criminal gangs known locally as bandits in the region.
In our next story, Mozambique. Portugal NGOs setting up protection networks to help 25,600 displaced. Now, around 25,600 people have been displaced by the war in Cabo Delgado in northern Mozambique. Particularly children and young people are expected to benefit this year from community social protection networks that HELPO, a Portugal-based organization, is creating on the ground. Now, the reads Para or Proteca Network for Protection project works by bringing together people from each community who will sound the alarm about vulnerabilities, abuses, and cases of exploitation, among other problems, in coordination with institutional actors and local leaders. Now, most of the beneficiaries that the project expects to reach are children, around 19,500 of them. Now, schools and communities must be trained to welcome them properly, and barriers to school entry and progression must be overcome. Now, according to the RIES, the fund can cover 33,000 children in the 14 communities based on the initial amount, with the possibility that other support may come later.
Moving over to Mozambique. Mozambique destroys another hideout of terrorists. Mozambique's defense ministry said Friday that government forces have destroyed another hideout of terrorists in the country's northern province of Cabo Delgado. The operation was conducted by members of the Mozambique Defense Armed Forces in coordination with regional friendly forces in Ingoane, a village in the province's Macomia district, the Ministry of National Defense said in a report on its official website. This is yet another successful operation by the FADM after having recently carried out a military offensive on Matemo Island in the administrative post of Quitarejo, which culminated in the killing of 20 terrorists, wounding and capturing of others, the report said. Cabo Delgado authorities said Wednesday that no more territorial unit of the province is under the control of terrorists, and that the government has been trying to create conditions for the return of those displaced from their areas of origin. A total of 147 schools out of 390 affected by terrorism in 9 districts of the province were reportedly open this week. In Algeria, Algeria's President Abdelmajid Tebboune has pardoned more than 1,000 prisoners to coincide with the holy month of Ramadan. In a statement, his office said an additional 70 protesters from the pro-democracy Hirak movement who were awaiting trial for public order offenses would be offered clemency. Among those released was a rights campaigner, Zaki Hanashi, who was arrested in February for allegedly promoting terrorist acts and spreading false news. The Hirak protest rocked major cities in Algeria starting in early 2019, forcing longtime President Abdelaziz Bouteflika to step down months later. Protests continued even after Mr. Tebboune came to power. He was rejected by the Hirak, who regarded him as an extension of the old political system.
All right, we'll continue with more news stories right after the break.
Have you received a loan from NSFAF? NSFAF loan is the same as any other loan. It must be paid and settled. NSFAF has a set of guidelines on how you can repay your loan and become debt-free. Therefore, it is important that you, a former beneficiary and a responsible Namibian, show your patriotism by helping pay back your loan and thus helping NSFAF become a revolving fund for the benefit of future potential students. By failing to pay back your NSFAF loan, you risk being blacklisted or having a court order against you. So arrange with the fund to pay back your loan today. For more information on how you can repay your loan, visit our website at www.nasfaf.na or visit our Facebook page or Twitter. Do the right thing and hashtag payback the money.
Welcome back. Let's continue with our top stories. Now, at least 7 people die in DR Congo train crash. An 8-carriage cargo train derailed as it was traveling from the Lualaba to Kasai province in southeastern Democratic Republic of Congo. Clementine Lutanda, a local administrator in Lubudi district where the train began its journey, tells the BBC that 7 people died and 14 were injured. Among the wounded, 5 have been admitted for treatment. She also said that the train derailed on Sunday around 7 p.m. local time. The National Railways Company, SNCC, has not yet said what caused the accident, but DR Congo's Transport Minister Serubin Okende told reporters that an investigation is underway to find out. In March, another train derailed in DR Congo, killing 75 people and injuring 125 others. The country's rail network dates back to colonial times and remains in very poor conditions with regular accidents.
In our next story, Zambian teen fakes own death to escape prosecution. Now, an 18-year-old man of Lusaka has faked his own death to avoid being prosecuted. Emmanuel Belama is in this matter jointly charged with 3 others over allegedly possessing of prescribed trophies. Now, when the matter came up for continued trial in February 2022 before Lusaka resident magistrate Felix Kaoma Belema was not in court, one of his sororities, Raymond Hakoloba, informed the court that the accused was not present because he had allegedly died while in Katete in January this year. Now, the sorority told the court that Balema's 2 female relatives had given him the accused's death certificate, which he then presented before court. Now, Magistrate Kaoma then adjourned the case for return of bench warrant against Balema. Now, but when this case was resumed on March 28, 2022, for the return of bench warrant, a public prosecutor, Aaron Tantuluka, informed the court that the accused was arrested from Katete and was before court. The prosecutor also informed the court that the accused's death certificate was forged. Magistrate Kaoma cancelled the accused's police bond and discharged his sororities.
In Somaliland, market fire, In Somaliland, market fire loses between 1.5 to 2 billion US dollars. A massive fire in an expansive market in the capital of Somaliland destroyed property worth up to 2 billion US dollars, according to local officials in the self-proclaimed autonomous region of Somalia. At least 28 people were wounded in the Friday night fire that ravaged Wahin Market, a major source of livelihood for the residents of Hargeisa. The loss on the eve of the holy month of Ramadan sparked despair among many at home and solidarity efforts among outsiders who say they will help Somaliland in rebuilding the market. A preliminary report released by a national task force looking into the fire estimates losses of between 1.5 and 2 billion US dollars. The cause of the fire is yet to be determined, but some traders in Hargeisa said they believe a bad electrical connection may have been the cause.
Now, in our next story, suspected new Omicron subvariant found in China. Now, China reported 13,000 COVID cases on Sunday, the most since the peak of the first pandemic wave over 2 years ago. As health officials said, they have found a suspected new subtype of the Omicron variant in the Shanghai area. China's zero-COVID strategy is under extreme pressure as the virus wipes across the country. Now, until March, China had successfully kept the daily caseload down to double or triple digits with hard localized lockdowns, mass testing and travel restrictions. But cases have surged over recent weeks to thousands each day, especially in the outbreak epicenter of Shanghai, where streets were eerily empty on Sunday as 25 million people stayed under lockdown orders. Officials in Zhuzhou, a city 30 minutes west of Shanghai, have detected a mutation of Omicron variant not found in local or international database, state media reported on Sunday. Now, this means a new variant of Omicron has been discovered locally, Xinhu said, citing health official Zheng Chun, deputy director of Zhuzhou Center of Disease Control and Prevention. Now, the current outbreak is also testing the patience of the Chinese towards tough restrictions at a time when much of the world has reopened. Now, on Sunday, the 1.5 million residents of Beijing in the northeast China joined the ranks of tens of millions of other Chinese who have endured some form of lockdown over the last month, disrupting work and damaging the economy. Now, city authorities have conceded they are struggling to contain the outbreak, with thousands now in state quarantine and reports circulating of health workers being stretched.
Moving on over to South Sudan. South Sudan rivals sign agreement in a bid to normalize relations. South Sudan's political rivals agreed on Sunday to unify army command in a key development of the fragile peace agreement signed in 2018. The agreement was signed in Juba after mediation from neighboring Sudan. The agreement provides for a division 60% of the president's camp and 40% for the vice president's Mashar of leadership positions in the army, police and national security forces. Tensions between forces royal to the president and former rebel leader Riek Machar had escalated recently, raising international fears of a return to full-scale conflict in the world's youngest nation. For the national security of the Republic of South Sudan, which is an extension of consideration of Sudanese national security, this proposal was integrated and compatible, and thank God that it has been agreed between all the parties regarding the order of distribution of command's leadership. This proposal has raised the road or time for the matrix to implement what was agreed in this proposal, said Yassin Ibrahim Yassin, Sudan Minister of Defense. The 2018 peace agreement provides for the principle of power sharing in a government of national unity formed in February 2020 with Kiir as president and Machar as vice president.
Now, after the break, we talked to Dr. Wadhuva Kaumbi, who talks about the ongoing squabbles and power struggles within the Ovahero traditional community. More on this right after the break.
Choose your flex package with Paratus today. Sign up for ultra-fast fiber with the convenience of mobile LTE. That's 2 products in 1 bundle. It's new, it's 1 bill, and you can stay connected in more than 1 location.
For more information, visit paratus.africa/NA.
Always prepared. Paratus.
Welcome back to Africa Good Morning. We now cross on over to Botswana, where we speak to Masego Mohasa, who gives us news on the ground in Botswana. Good morning, Masego.
Good morning to you ladies in studio, and good morning, Africa.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm hoping you're having a great Tuesday.
Of course. So we start off in Botswana, where Miss Botswana addresses the dress scandal for Miss World. Please tell us more on this.
Yes, Miss Botswana Palese Molefe has finally broken her silence on the dress that apparently caused a stir in the wake of her failure to win the coveted position of Miss World 2022. Speaking at a press briefing this afternoon, Molefe said her zipper came off just as she was supposed to go on stage at the Miss World grand finale held last month. The beauty queen said that there was not enough time to fix the dress, which popped open as she was about to go on stage. She said she handed in her dress prior to the finale as required and stated that contestants were required to hand in only one gown. Molefe caused an uproar as she went on stage in a gown belonging to her fellow contestants, Miss World second runner-up, Miss Olivia Yase from Gotv, which Olivia was photographed in wearing on her social media platforms. She had chosen a green dress to wear on stage for the finale. Now, a lot of Botswana are upset. They want more answers, even though a press conference was held, because it just doesn't make sense how, if she could get a second dress from Miss Cote d'Ivoire, how does she not have her own second dress to wear on stage?
Yes, that has a lot of people wondering, was it sabotage?
Was it?
We don't know. In your next story, I understand that the lucrative Karowe mine is to create jobs. Can you tell us more?
Yes, yes. Lugara's Garowe underground mine construction phase is expected to create over 850 jobs. Speaking yesterday during the groundbreaking ceremony marked the expansion of Garowe mine into an underground mine. President Mokgweetsi Masisi said this was a welcome development as it will extend the life of the mine to 2046. Masisi also said the commencement of the underground mining will ensure a continuation of mutually beneficial relationship between Lugara, Botswana, and the government, as well as the communities in the area where it's operating. He noted that the project will not be an easy undertaking, as it is the first diamond mining operation in Botswana to convert from open pits to underground mining. Construction of the project is expected to be completed by 2024 and the commissioning to take place in 2025, while full production is planned for 2026. Good news indeed for the diamond industry in Botswana, which is one of our biggest exports actually.
Awesome. And finally, Kotla Auschwitz's vehicle gets set on fire amidst political scandal. Please expand on this.
Yes, local government and rural development minister Kotla Autlezi says he and his family are staying put at their home in Suruwe despite the suspected arson attack during early hours of Friday morning. Autlezi said Suruwe is his home and that he will not be forced out by this attack. The minister's GD6 Toyota Hilux double cab was burnt to ashes in the arson attack. At the time of the incident, his wife and his children were home but were not injured. Police have since said that they suspect someone or a group of people who could have jumped into the yard and set the vehicle on fire. Minister Outwitz further said that he has suspicions about the attack but will not publicly share them. He said that he would wait for police to conclude their investigations, which are still underway. Meanwhile, government has condemned the alleged arson in which Minister Outwitz's property was destroyed by unknown assailants. The acting permanent secretary, government communications and information systems, John Thomas Diboe, said in a statement over the weekend that the government does condemn this act in the strongest terms in what he termed politically motivated violence, which seeks to disturb peace and tranquility enjoyed by Botswana. He warned those responsible that they will fully face the wrath of the law. Now, this comes weeks after the turmoil involving the Khama family. The Khama family, which you will know is a royal family from Seruwe, which is where the minister stays. So we don't know if this is to suggest that the family is involved in this story. But yes, we will find out as soon as the police release a conclusive results.
As soon as you find out, please do let us know more. And that was Maseho giving us the news on the ground in Botswana. We'll now take a look at the weather.
Good morning, Africa, and welcome back. Now, we will be talking to Dr. Wadhuva Kawambi, who's talking about the ongoing squabbles and power struggles within the Overhero Traditional Authority. He also cautioned the two factions over the adverse long-term impact of the current fights in the current credibility of the OTA. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
We're good, we're good. Now, understand, what is the status within the Traditional Authority at the moment?
Well, the thing is that everything is fine. I remember, of course, every society has got its own internal contradictions. You know, there will always be moments of peace and, you know, tranquility and harmony. And then, you know, there will be other moments where that is actually being challenged. And then there will be some conflicts or some kind of misunderstanding. And I think this is what is happening now. You know, we'll find that, of course, once a great leader dies of the community, there will always be some kind of a contestation, of course, for that vacant position. And as a result, people will realign themselves, according to the different candidates who aspire to that position. So I think this is normal. It's a normal transitional period where we think that it's a challenge that we need to address. And I think that's what we're going to address. I wouldn't call it squabbles or factions or anything like that. I think it's just a normal situation, and I'm very confident that we shall be able to address that. Yes.
Okay, and sir, do you think that, obviously you're saying it's because of a death, but is there any other way that the situation could have been avoided, and if so, then how?
Everything can be avoided. Unfortunately, you must understand that, especially with traditional communities, most of the things are oral, and they call it the customary law. You know, the different customs and protocols that have been passed on from generation to generation, you know, over time. And some of these are not written. And as a result, there are different interpretations to what should be done. And every person thinks that their interpretation is the correct one. So in an event like this, sometimes the courts can help to just bring some kind of clarity. At least having a neutral person like a judge or so look at the situation, look at the different interpretations of customary law, and then try and draw a conclusion. And hopefully people then will abide by that decision ultimately. So, but if we could sit around a table and agree on, for instance, what should be done in the event of the death of a paramount leader, and what the succession arrangements should be, then there will be no problem like this. But I believe that ultimately this will come to pass as well. And I think based on some of the previous judgments and previous court cases, I think one can draw some certain inferences and actually come to an understanding that, yes, maybe in future this is how we should do it, and try to do some codification of some of the things that we have, instead of just relying on oral tradition and so forth. I think maybe we need to now draw in our academics to help us put these things in writing, and everybody agrees on these rules and procedures and processes and systems, institutions, all of that, so that in future then we can actually refer to these books or these codifications, and then we can avoid these costly exercises of going to court and so forth. But for now, I think it's necessary. It's sad, but it's necessary.
I understand that most traditional authorities seem to have issues when it comes to replacing departed leaders. And as you just said, it's a sort of a natural process. What would you ascribe it to, though? Why it happens?
Look, the thing is that depending, of course, on how long a particular, let's call it a supreme leader or paramount leader of the community, you know, was, let's call it in rulership. I would like to call it power. Then, of course, certain people align themselves with that, and then sometimes some kind of cult also develops around that leader. And certain people feel that because they are closer to that leader, then they're more entitled to that leader than others are. And so that when the leader passes on, sadly, then those who think that they were closest to the leader feel that they are the ones who are entitled to succession. And then they groom their candidate, and then they think that is the candidate who is somehow entitled to succeed because of their proximity to the departed leader. But unfortunately, or fortunately for communities like with the Overhero communities, they've developed some democratic processes, although not all of them are codified, as I was saying earlier. But some of them are. Like with succession, it is fairly codified to say what should happen in the event that the paramount chief is incapacitated either due to death or health or whatever the reason might be. So I think this is where we are, and I think it's all about who was closest to the departed leader, who wants to destroy his legacy, and some of these perceptions that persist in the minds of some of our people, depending, of course, on your distance to the leadership or to the center of power. But these things will come to pass. I think once time hopefully heals, and people start to realize that, no, look, we are all part of this traditional community. The leader has gone. May his soul rest in peace. It's very unfortunate, that situation that is happening now, but let's move on. Let's move on. Let's look for somebody else now. He doesn't need, or she, or fortunately, or unfortunately in this case, it's always a he. He does not need to be associated, because we are not a royal house. So there is no hereditary assumption of power. There's no prescription that the person should be in a particular, must come from a particular family and so on. So it's an open contestation where everybody can participate in that traditional community. And I think that's what many people have to sort of accept and move on, because over time, in the past, people, it always depended on whether you are part of the royal family or not, depended on your lineage and so on and so on.
Yes, definitely. So could you briefly, and I mean very briefly, explain to us, so there are fears that the situation will severely dent the credibility of the OTA. What is your take on this?
No, I don't think so. I think, look, I mean, it shows that there's open contestation. It's a democratic process, and I think we'd like people to appreciate that. I think we appreciate that. Other people must also appreciate that there must be open contestation, just like in the country as well, you know. So I think on the contrary, it actually enhances our image as a very democratic society, and we will deal with these things. You know, we'll deal with it. I think we'll reach some kind of understanding with each other, and then we move on. We've always done that. We've always chosen a leader, and then we moved on. We forgot our differences, and we forgot new differences.
All right.
Of course.
Sorry to cut you off for the sake of
No,
time.
no problem.
I just want to ask the last question. For the sake of unity within the OTA community, how far is Chief Kapuo willing to go to solve this matter?
Yeah, look, that's what we are. He's always called out to his other brothers and sisters to come together. We are willing to sit around the table. We cannot preempt what will happen around the table, but we sit down and every person comes with their demands, or and then it will be a give and take. So I think once that happens, then we will decide, or he will decide at that stage what he must give and what he must take and so forth, and then we move forward. But that willingness is always there. It's always been there, and so forth. Yeah.
Thank you so much for giving us your time and coming on Africa Good Morning.
Yes, thank you very much. Also, apologies for the earlier technical glitch, but it's the first time, so hopefully next time it will go much smoother.
Yes, hopefully so.
That was Dr. Udhua Kaumbi, who was talking about the Ovaherero Traditional Authority. After the break, we'll be back with more. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. Now, in this next interview, Chief Executive Officer of Namibia Tourism Board, Dihun Ngaup, provides feedback on the Dubai World Expo, which took place from 1 October 2021 to 31 March 2022. He speaks about what investment and tourism opportunities Namibia will derive from attending it. Let's have a look.
Yes, I'm Digun Ngabib, Chief Executive Officer of Namibia Tourism Board. I'm here today to give you feedback of our recent mission to Dubai. In fact, the mission was part of the Dubai World Expo 2020, under which banner Namibia is participating and is having a pavilion. And as part of that, there are themes, and one of the themes was the Tourism Week. In terms of the Tourism Week, what we organized was the networking events for both trade and media, as well as the information session that was organized under the banner of the Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism. Our event took place as of 7th to the 13th of March this year. We had a networking event in Dubai. That event was then attended by about 35 travel trade from greater areas of Dubai and Sharia and all other outlying emirates. And then of course about 80 media, sorry for that. And of course in the delegation we had, it was led by the minister responsible for tourism, director of tourism, myself as the CEO of the Namibia Tourism Board, and we had 4 private sector operators, namely Suricate Tours and Safaris and Wild About Africa and James Shuttle and Transfers and Destination Swakopmund were represented and were networking with this travel trade. Part of the event was that we were also offering prizes to be won for people to travel to Namibia. So and the main premises of these events was for us to showcase the destination Namibia. So we presented all the highlights and attractions about Namibia to try and generate awareness about this destination. In fact, the interest was very high. So we had subsequent similar event in Abu Dhabi, because we had to do 2 different events, because Dubai being a commercial hub and very in a close proximity with the other Emirates. However, Abu Dhabi is a political headquarters of the Emirates, the 5 Emirates, or 7 Emirates rather. So that was attended by about 28 travel trade and 12 media. And both the prizes were won by media personalities both in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Prizes were sponsored by ONL for Midgard and Strand Hotel, as well as by Namibia Wildlife Resorts and White Lady Brandberg Lodge that sponsored those prizes, and Atlantic Villa also sponsored the prizes. Return tickets are to be paid by Namibia Tourism Board once these media personalities will travel. The idea is for them to transverse across the country and cover Namibia. However, what we have learned is that besides the greatest interest that we have, the market is very affluent. You have about 10% of the population are the Arab nationals, Emiratians that are living, whereas the 90% of the residents are expats, people who are non-residents who are actually working or either having businesses that they own and run and operate in all over United Arab Emirates. So they are affluent, and in fact, it is not the first time that we've been to Dubai. We used to have a representative agency about 7 years ago, but because of the budget limitations, we had to exit the market. So there was a tremendous groundwork that has been laid some time back, and it was easier for us to pick off from that and to benefit. What we have actually realized also is that in the meantime, government has eased the travel restrictions for the people from United Arab Emirates, because previously they had to apply in advance for visas, and they could do so only directly applying to Namibia as well as through our embassy in Egypt, and that has been a nightmare. But now they've been classified to receive visas on arrival, so that makes it much more easier. Back then we also had access limitations, but that has also been eased, because previously they used to fly to Johannesburg or Cape Town with Emirates and connect onto Namibia. But now with Qatar, because Qatar used to be banned to fly between Doha and Dubai, but now that has been opened up, so Qatar is flying already to Dubai. So once Qatar revives its link to Namibia, which will be from the 25th of June, the ease of travel and connectivity is much more improved and enhanced. Besides that, we have also Ethiopian Airlines that is flying between Dubai and Addis Ababa and then straight on to Vintu. So definitely the airlift has actually improved over the time, and we are hoping to see more of the national experts from United Arab Emirates or the residents itself traveling to Namibia in not distant future.
The Dubai World Expo certainly sounds like it was a lot of fun, and we hope it brings many economic opportunities for Namibia. Moving right along with our economic news.
Now, in our first story, Ukraine war to halve global trade growth, warns WTO. Now, the Ukraine war has led the World Trade Organization to cut its global trade growth forecast for this year. Now, the previous 4.7% growth forecast has been cut to 2.5% due to the impact of the war and related policies, said WTO boss Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. Now, the cut is also linked to continuing global supply chain problems that started as a result of the pandemic. Now, she said disruptions would make food more costly, saying, "My worry is that we have a food crisis that is brewing." Now, Dr. Okonjo-Iweala told the BBC that although Russia and Ukraine only make up about 2.5% of the global merchandise exports, they are very, very significant in certain sectors. Now, she added the global economy was going to suffer some severe consequences and said poorer countries would particularly feel the impact of the shortages and the supply constraints on food. Now, supplies of many food products, including wheat and corn, have been affected following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Industry groups have warned the EU faces a shortage of sunflower oil. In total, 46.9% of global exports come from Ukraine and 29.9% from Russia, according to S&P Global.
Moving over to Indonesia, the cooking oil industry gets 24-hour police surveillance. Indonesia's police will be deployed for a 24-hour surveillance of cooking oil production and distribution as rising food prices become a key political issue in the country. The task force, made up of police officers, intelligence agents, and government employees, will make sure companies are producing bulk cooking oil as targeted and selling it for below the 14,000 rupiah, which is about $14 Namibian a litre price cap, said Police Chief Listio Sigit Wibowo. Our findings on the ground show that cooking oil is not yet available in all markets, and we need to take further measures, Wibowo told reporters on Monday after meeting with the industry minister Agus Gumingwang Katasamsimta.
Now, in our next story, Tanzania has enough fuel, assures authority. Now, fuel prices in the country are expected to rise starting next Wednesday, and the availability of the important commodity is said to be in good standard, as the law requires that there should be a 15-day fuel reserve. Now, Energy and Water Utilities Regulatory Authority, EWURA Deputy Director General Gotv Chibulenje made the comment to media editors yesterday, whereby he said there is still enough fuel reserve for 27 days. Now, he said the commodity was being sold in accordance with the price it was brought. Now, so far we have enough petrol for 27 days, diesel, kerosene and jet fuel, and other tank ships to continue to offload. Now, he explained that it was normal for fuel prices to change when a big event occurred in the world. Mr. Chibulonde explained that despite the fact that prices of fuel is likely to rise, the citizens should not be worried about its availability.
In South Africa, KwaZulu-Natal community fights coal mine expansion. Tendele coal mine, one of the 14 operating coal mines in the province, is embroiled in a legal battle with environmentalists and community members in the surrounding villages of Opondweni and Emalahleni over plans to expand by 21.8 million hectares. The expansion would displace roughly 200 families, many of whom earn a living by subsistence farming. South Africa relies heavily on coal for power generation, which produces more than 80% of the country's electricity. However, according to the Department of Energy's Integrated Resource Plan, the government is working to see that drop to 59% by 2030. According to Ndwandwa, the looming June deadline has triggered dangerous desperation amongst those who benefit the most from the mine's existence. Pro-mining community members accuse environmentalists of ulterior motives, according to Tembinkosi Mlungwana, a community leader. The mine has donated over 40 schools for children who could not afford them. They have also donated 12 water tanks. It does not make sense why a small group of people want the mine to go.
We now take a look at our economic indicators.
Have you received a loan from NSFAF? NSFAF loan is the same as any other loan. It must be paid and settled. NSFAF has a set of guidelines on how you can repay your loan and become debt-free. Therefore, it is important that you, a former beneficiary and a responsible Namibian, show your patriotism by helping pay back your loan and thus helping NSFAF become a revolving fund for the benefit of future potential students. By failing to pay back your NSFAF loan, you risk being blacklisted or having a court order against you. So arrange with the fund to pay back your loan today. For more information on how you can repay your loan, visit our website at www.nasfaf.na or visit our Facebook page or Twitter. Do the right thing and hashtag payback the money.
Thank you for staying with us. Now, for all you sports lovers, fear not, for we have Ari who's going to give us the sports news. Let's take a look.
Good day, everyone. International sports news time, and I start with cricket news. And with the Women's World Cup being completed, it is Australia that won that tournament, beating England in the final. We move on to some results of the men playing cricket as well. And the first result is Netherlands touring New Zealand at the moment. The third ODI, 50 over ODI was completed, and it is New Zealand that won that game by 115 runs. They also won the series by 3-0. What happened in the game was New Zealand batted first, 333 for the loss of 8 wickets, with 200s in that game for New Zealand. It is Martin Guptill 106 and Will Young 120. And Netherlands found the going tough. They could only manage 218 in their allotted 50 overs. So New Zealand winning by 115 runs. Also a test match, 5-day test match taking place at the moment in Durban at Kingsmead in South Africa. That is South Africa playing Bangladesh. And the result from that is that South Africa won that game by 220 runs. It was Bangladesh that was bowled out for a very low total in their second innings. They were bowled out for 53 in their second innings on day 5, chasing 274 for a win. What briefly happened in the game was South Africa 367 in the first innings, then Bangladesh replied with 298. South Africa bowled out for 204 in their second innings, and then Bangladesh, as I mentioned, 53 all out. That's their second lowest test total in their history. Best bowler for South Africa in that second innings of Bangladesh was Keshav Maharaj, the spinner. He took 7 wickets in just 10 overs for 32 runs, and also Simon Harmer, the other spinner, took also 3 wickets. Now on to some tennis news, and the new world rankings came out after this weekend's Miami Open. That was Carlos Alcaraz of Spain that won the men's division, and it was Iga Swiatek of Poland that won the women's. That was the thousands tournament, that is the Miami Open that was played in Florida. New rankings now. Carlos Alcaraz, he moves up 4 positions from number 15 to number 11 now in the world, almost in the top 10 now. He's just 18 years old and seems to be the next sensation or next star on the horizon in the tennis in the men's circuit. Also, Casper Ruud, that played in the final against Alcaraz, he moves up from number 8 to number 7. And Southern African interest is that is Lloyd Harris. He reached the top, the last 16 in the tournament, and he's up from number 44 up to number 40th in the world at the moment. In the women's circuit, as expected, Iga Swiatek, after winning her 3rd tournament in a row, she's comfortably world number 1 at the moment. That is also after Ash Barty of Australia announced her retirement. But so it's Iga Swiatek, Poland. She is the world number 1, with Barbara Krejcikova of the Czech Republic. She is the world number 2 at the moment. And now I move on to golf news, and all the golf supporters are quite excited this week because it is the US Masters taking place at Augusta in Georgia in the United States of America. So news from the tournament is that the 5-time champion Tiger Woods will decide within the next few days if he is going to compete in the tournament. He's at the venue, he's been training and practicing there, playing practice rounds for the last weekend, and he said that he will make a decision a few days before the tournament starts if he's going to play. He played a practice round with his son Charlie and also Justin Thomas, and he said it's all about his fitness. He was in a car accident, and that was last year in April 2021, serious car accident, and he only recovered recently to start playing golf again. So that is still to be confirmed if Tiger Woods will play in the tournament. What is confirmed, there's going to be 5 Southern African players that's in the tournament. The first one is Charles Schwartzel. He's a previous champion, and he is teeing off as well in the Masters this year again. And then other players is Louis Oosthuizen, also Garrick Hugo of South Africa, and Christian Besaidnout, and also Eric van Rooyen. Those are the 5 Southern Africans playing. Another player that qualified to play, that is Trevor Immelman, also a past champion, but he is occupied to be a TV commentator at the moment, so he's not playing in the tournament. Let's close off with some rugby news. It is the Women's Six Nations that's taking place in Europe at the moment, and there's 3 unbeaten teams after the second round of the Six Nations, and those are England and also France and Wales. They've got all 3 of them have got 10 points, league points after 2 games. Results from the weekend is France beat Ireland by 40 points to 5. Then Wales, a close game against Scotland, they won 24 points to 19, and then a big win for England against Italy. They were way too strong for them. The score 74 points to 0. And this coming weekend, there will be 2 of the unbeaten teams playing each other, and that will be England that will host Wales. So that is the sporting news, international sports news for now. Hope you have a great day, and we talk again tomorrow. Goodbye.
Thank you, Ari Hokart, for keeping us up to date with the sports news.
Now, in case you missed it at the start of the show, let's have a look at your highlights. First ICC trial addressing Darfur war crimes to open. In Nigeria, more than 150 still missing after passenger train attack. In Mozambique, Portugal NGO setting up protection networks to help 25,600 displaced people. Again in Mozambique, destroys another hideout of terrorists. Algerian president pardons 1,000 convicts. Ukraine war to have global trade growth, warns WTO. Those have been your highlights. Thank you for staying with our show.
And with that, we've come to the end of the show. Now, do remember that Africa Good Morning is repeated on our website, oneup2.com, and on our DSTV channel 285 and our Gotv channel 94 between 8:30 and 9:30 a.m. every weekday. Now, also, if you happen to have any comments regarding our program, do share them with us on our Twitter and Facebook pages. And if you so happen to have videos or photos of happenings in your parts of Africa, do share them with us and we'll gladly include them in our program. I am Glenara Shipura, and this is Diana Master.
Until tomorrow, goodbye.